Hey everybody, welcome to Houdini Hangout. We have launched Houdini 21, and so everybody seems like everybody's pretty excited about it. Things are, I'm hearing a lot of good things from people, but hopefully we can get into some of that interesting new features tonight. So yeah, hope you're all doing well. Hello. So like I said, yesterday, Houdini 21 got released. So that's obviously an exciting development. There's lots of new features, lots of improvements, things like that. I think there's certainly, I wouldn't say there's many parts of Houdini that weren't touched by that update, as is common with all updates. Hey, KG, hey, Fractaler, Simona, hello, welcome. Lots of things to look at and talk about and things like that. So I think it should be a pretty fun, just conversation, and we can go through and talk about a whole bunch of stuff. Kind of poke around at whatever we can. Obviously, I don't know all of the ins and outs of every part of this new update, but we'll play around with it. We'll see what we can get up to. I've seen some walkthroughs of all the different features and things like that, or at least a lot of them. And so hopefully we'll be able to, get some cool, interesting stuff happening here and get some information to you. Hey, Known, welcome. I was on the beta for a little bit using 21, and it was actually a really good experience. I felt like overall it was really positive. I'm like I've probably mentioned before, I'm working on a karma course, just a very introductory karma course currently, and so right now we're I was kind of playing around mostly in Solaris and working there, and it felt really good. Felt like it was pretty stable. Felt like hopefully there's some new features and things like that that were able to just make the thing a little bit more stable, make it a little bit more robust, things like that. Really for this whole stream, hey Zach, welcome. Hey Paulo, welcome. So for this stream, it'll be a little bit of a Q&A. I also have some things that I'm thinking about that I'd like to talk about and touch on. But yeah, we're able to kind of go however, we can do whatever and chat about whatever. So I'm happy to do that. It's a little bit of a Q&A, a little bit of just, hey, let's play around with some new features, things like that. If you're new here or you haven't really joined a live stream before, please feel free to drop a message in the chat. Add in your comments or your thoughts, or if you've played around with something and you're like, oh no, do it this way, feel free to correct me. I'm happy to be corrected. That's kind of, this is a safe spot. So if you're new or you're not sure what's going on or how things work, ask those questions, because if you have those questions, someone else probably does as well. So we don't want to have this to be a spot where it's just me kind of, hey, here's what you need to know type of a thing. It's a free place to share information, and so we can kind of talk about that and mess around with some things, and we'll get into some stuff. If you guys have any thoughts or questions or anything like that, feel free to throw them in the chat, and we'll just start kind of going through and talking about some stuff. So without any further ado, let's jump over into Houdini 21. And look at how new it looks. It looks like a brand new application. No, I'm just kidding. Excuse me. There's only probably a couple ways that you could tell that this is Houdini 21. One of them is the new work lights mode here. And so these are kind of built-in work lights that you can use, which are pretty nice. And we can maybe play around with those a little bit. Hey, Sai. Um, the smaller icon. Yes, and the black bar at the top, although I cut that off on my stream, but the black bar at the very top is a little different, which I like. It makes it feel all just a little more dark and cozy. Feels like it fits in a little bit more. Now I'm on Windows, so that's for me. But yeah, the work lights thing. Also, the snapping menu was changed slightly. So yeah, that has changed a little bit. And yeah, that's about it. Hey Ravi, thanks. Oh, love from India. Wow. Glad you're able to join us. Hopefully it's not too crazy of an hour for you there, but yeah, glad to have you. So Zach, you were talking about operations. There's no gradient in the UI. I no, we don't have a gradient UI. How did you get rid of the gradient? I don't know what you mean. There is no gradient. I don't know. I don't know what this joke is. So yeah, so Zach was mentioning the cables in Copernicus, and that's definitely a cool place to start. Maybe we start there and just kind of play around with that a little bit. Copernicus obviously is a big thing that people, I think are excited about. Certainly, a lot of people that are motion graphics people will be excited about Copernicus. So let's call this cops cables, something like that. We'll play around with this. Let's do. Actually, you know what? Why did I even do that? I didn't even need to do that. I could just do this. I think we can just throw it on a cop network here, and we'll just say cop cables. There we go. So let's just do like some SDF shapes maybe, just to kind of make something sort of interesting here. So we'll just do some, I don't know, some weird little compound shapes or something like that. We'll do like these. Are officially referred to as ears. I haven't heard that term, but that doesn't mean anything. That doesn't mean I. um, yeah, I haven't heard of that before, the ears thing. But all right, so let's make a few different shapes here. Let's do I don't know, a cross, and we'll do I don't know, rounded X. Sure, something like this. And let's say you wanted to work on all of these things here, right? Um, so what we would normally have had to do is we would have had to work on these each individually, right? But what we can do now is we can do a cable pack. We should be able to wire all these. Oh, interesting. Don't know what that was. That was very interesting. Got something strange. All right, so there we go. We've got our cable pack now, and now we have a cable over here. And what this is able to do now is do operations that are going to work on all of these, right? And so, we could set the field name from the inputs, things like that. We could also name each of these. We could name these like heart. What is that? I don't know. Plus X. I don't know, something like that. And then we would have a cable output here for all of these. And so these are going to be like, they're going to be green and a little thicker looking when we draw them down. But let's do like a what is it? It's sorry. Do an SDF to mono. We'll do that. What we should be able to do here. Oh, you couldn't tell if he was being serious or just. Yeah, I think. Yeah, thick cables. Yeah, they're really thick. And that kind of just says that there's more than just one line's worth in there. And so what we can do here with these is we can do a bunch of kind of manipulation on things like this. And just trying to think, maybe this actually, let me just try something here. Let's do a transform 2D. And let's do this. And let's just see if we can do this now. There's also, oh, okay. There's also like some handles available for stuff here. So if we change this over, let's just do something crazy like that. I don't know, sure. And then we'll do like a rotation as well. Or maybe we'll just do a rotation. That's kind of fine. Let's do that. We'll do a 90-degree rotation. And then if we do a cable unpack, I think this is still a cable. So let's just double check here. Yeah, I think so. And there we go. So what this is doing now, and I'm actually going to I'm going to put this away and just bring this up. I think it's a little easier to see it this way. So what are we doing here and why is this interesting? Well, because previously what we would have had to have done is work on each of these different SDF shapes individually, right? And when you're working like this, what a cable can do is almost be like a for each loop. And that allows us to be able to do some really interesting things because each of these nodes now knows to work on this cable as almost like a loop. So yeah, Zach just mentioned in the comments, this could be insanely useful for compositing. Sure, yeah, of course. This is not a compositor yet, so just keep that in mind. But yeah, certainly there's lots of things that could be done with that. But now let's just throw it on excuse me. Let's just throw it on a couple of nulls here so we can see that this in fact has done what we expected it to. Well, that's interesting. We're not getting the correct view out of that, but that's okay. I'm guessing that is a little bug right now, so that might be something that will get fixed. But we can see that these are actually now outputting those specific things. And you know what? I made a really dumb choice by doing this transform 90. So let's do it at 45 degrees. And we should now see that these will, in fact, be manipulated the way we kind of expect them to. And let's just do a uniform scale down a little bit. And we've got this like crazy edge rotation thing going on here. So this, like I said, I think this is just a bug. I think this is just a little glitch. We're obviously seeing the right data coming out of these and stuff like that. So that's kind of interesting, right? Yeah, the other thing looks like Maitland was talking about was that you can do live video too. Yeah, that's certainly true. There was a little demo of that with Waffle Boy Tom in there waving about. And yeah, it was really cool to see that as well. It's just kind of I already piped Touch Designer in. That's awesome. I don't know what Krita is. I'm not familiar with that. So hopefully you can see how these are almost doing like a looping operation over each of these. And so let's just say we do this. There we go. That's a little bit better. So now we're clipping it. We're not doing the mirroring thing. So this is one way. Oh, Krita is an open source drawing app. Interesting. That's cool. So yeah, I do think that these little green things I maybe have heard people call them ears. These are another way that you can pull out, cables from any node, right? So like, it's just a way to get all of the possible outputs from it, I believe is what it would effectively be. And so this cable pack here is putting all of these layers into one wire. And so that's the idea here. You could do this as many times as you wanted to, but the idea is that we're going to get all of these different wires kind of tied into a cable, right? And yeah, those I think you could consider those ears. So let's just let's try one other thing here. So we have this, and that's all going great. The other thing I want to take a look at though is how we could possibly do this. What the other kind of what's the word I'm looking for? The other type of kind of implication of these cables and what they allow us to do, which is, I think, really, really cool. Again, this is a more conceptual idea, but hopefully it'll make sense. And pull the ears. I just saw that. That's good, Fractal. I like that. So what we could do, let's grab a couple noises here. Let's grab some of the new ones. Let's do a phaser noise, and let's do one of the crystal noises. Hello, there we go. Must be OpenCL and I was compiling. And then let's do, sure, we'll do the bubble noise. And yeah, that's good for right now. So let's do a preview material here, right? And so Fractaler is just mentioning something. Imagine if you have more than one operation before or after transform and you want to extract it in the middle. Curious to test how stackable the cable pack and cable unpack are. I mean, I don't think there would be any reason you couldn't go back and forth. I mean, there's got to be some performance hit there, but it kind of just, I think, depends on what exactly it is that how much you're doing, I guess, with it, and the scale of it and all that kind of thing. So actually, I'm going to just change my view to the front viewport here. And then there we go. Okay, cool. Let me make sure that I am auto-saving this. Just make sure in case anything happens here. So this preview material, I think, is a great example of, what it is that we're kind of, what we're thinking is it could happen here. So let's, actually, you know what? Let's go to perspective viewport because we don't actually want to have this in perspective a little bit. So let's just say we were taking this crystal noise and we're going to put that. Hey, Zach, how's it going? Welcome. Let's do a mono to RGB. Steve Hansen saying, saw someone using the sims and noises and cops to affect vellum particle sims. Looked amazing, but can't figure out how to get cops texture data to geo to then affect something like emission or rest strength. Yeah, maybe we'll play with that a little bit later because I have a feeling that would be slightly complicated. I think there are... Oh, yeah, that's a great point. Before we go any further, let me pull this up and over here. Okay, so... I'm pretty sure that there are some content library examples that you can take a look at here that are going to show that. Obviously, what's new in Houdini is a great place to get started. There's tons of information here that you can grab. However, if we also go to sideeffects.com and go to the content library, we should see in here that there are a few other things in here as well. So if you're looking for how to do fire and things like that, take a look at it. I think there's a few other things in here as well that are new, obviously the rigs and things like that. So take a look at those if you are curious about those types of things. I have a feeling those might give you a good idea, maybe even better than I could right now, because I think those are going to be a little bit involved. Maybe towards the end of the stream, if we have some extra time, like where we're not really sure what to do, maybe we'll get into that, but those could really be helpful, I think, right now. Okay, so let's do this. Let's grab our mono to RGB here. Let's grab a ramp, and let's just do, I don't know, something like that. We'll throw that into the base color of our preview material here. And we're just going to do this. Hey, Terry, welcome. Oh, glad you're able to catch us live. Very, very glad to have you. Okay, so let's do that. And then let's do some phaser noise here. Let's wire that into the... let's see here. Let's wire that into the... Oh, sorry, I'm getting blown up on my... Let's do this into the roughness, maybe. And let's actually throw this into something like the physical sky. And this could be a nice way to kind of see how that works. So let's do properties, and we can actually adjust this. This is just like the physical sky that we have over in Karma, in Solaris. So you can see here we're getting some, some features there. Kind of showing up. So let's maybe play around with this a little bit. Maybe we'll make the element size a little bit bigger. Yeah, there's some cool new noises. I agree. It's pretty neat. Okay, so we'll let that just kind of be its thing, its own thing right now. Maybe we'll do this for, we do this for metalness actually. Yeah, sure. So we're just gonna do something really stupid and crazy, but it'll do its thing, right? So there's those, and then maybe we do let's see here. Yeah, new noises. Let's just do a fractal noise here, and we'll throw that into the emission. And maybe we'll just kind of adjust the amplitude on that a little bit. Maybe, I don't know. Just trying to think of something to do here. So we have all of these different things, right? However, this could be a really like complicated bunch of different, you know, a bunch of different stuff in your scene that could be really, really tough, and you have to kind of continually like wire these in and all that kind of stuff. What you can do, and I'm sure there's different ways that you would be able to think through this, but let's take all of these real quick and throw these into the cable pack. Okay, so let's name these here accordingly. Base color, metalness. Next one is roughness. And the last one is emission. Right? Did I spell that right? I think so. Okay. So we have a cable pack here. What we can do, or at least what I've been explained that we can do, let's just bloop, let's kill those. So what you should be able to do here is go to our preview material. I believe if we come up here, we can add an input override port. And now that is one of these ears, which they can live on either side of the node. We should be able to wire this up here. And we'll see that all of those things have just now overridden those incoming parameters. So you can see now we have these little icons, or these little like kind of nubs that are telling us that these layers were found and are now overriding those properties, right? So you could have this cable pack, you could do stuff to it then, and you could do all sorts of stuff with this cable now. And when it gets to this preview material, it's going to override those. And you can do that with any node. So you can do that with any node that's in Houdini. So you could do that with, I guess you could do that with, do the noises have, let me just see here, sorry. No, they don't really. Maybe you could do that with noise, I guess. If you had a bunch of stuff that was driving that, you could override it with a cable. And I believe if these just get removed, I might be wrong, but let me just check here. So if we do that and then I kind of thought that would have lost it. Sorry, let me just see here. I was thinking that would update. Oh, maybe it's this. Yeah. So you can obviously just why? Is this cabling only in COPS? Yes, it's only in COPS. I thought you were asking if we're only looking at cabling today, and I was like, well, I mean, I think we're gonna look at some other stuff too. But yes, it is only in COPS. So that is kind of the idea. I didn't need this, but now I do. Yeah, it's like a really nice little thing. I'm not enough of a Copernicus user to know exactly like, oh, this, and this are the reasons why that's super nice. I mean, obviously I know it's convenient, but I think there's a lot of functionalities that will be able to be done with this, right? Because you can then put all these things into a cable. You can mess with them. You could do all sorts of different transforms and things like that with your textures, and then throw them into something like a preview material, especially if you're doing the same operation on all of them. It just makes it a lot easier. It takes a lot less wiring and kind of, just annoyance that you have to kind of go through. So yeah, we're hoping that that's going to be really helpful. So that is the idea here. And so let me just name these things so we can keep them. We'll call this input overrides. And obviously this is the worst example ever. So sorry, but you know, that's what you get. This is developer art. It's at its best. And I'm not even a developer. And this is just okay. So we got COPS cables, so that's exciting. I think that's a cool new feature. I think it'll be really, really helpful. And I think it'll be pretty fun to be able to play around with those things. Hopefully that'll make your life quite a bit easier. So I'm just trying to think of some other things to talk about. Oh, one thing, talking about some more technical type things, let's talk about a couple of things that you may notice when if you haven't installed Houdini, you'll notice this one kind of right off the bat. If we go in and take a look at our, I'm going to pull up my program files, side effects. Here we go. You'll see that there's now this SHFS folder. And in it, there's a few different things here. And this is something it's going to ask you about right from the start. So when you're installing the launcher, I believe, it's going to bring up this question and say, where do you want to save the SHFS? And that's basically just a shared HFS, which is HFS, if you're familiar, is the Houdini file system. This is just a shared version. And what you're going to see in here right now are a couple things, right? We're seeing some test geometry and ML, models, things that we want to try to make it so you don't have to download every single time that you download a new version of Houdini, right? If we have ML models that are slightly large, obviously these days it's not crazy to have big files for downloads of apps and things like that. But if you're downloading, an extra gig of data every time you have a version, that's kind of dumb. So I think the idea here is to try to make more shared space between, individual, individual builds and things like that of Houdini. So this is going to be something that I'm sure will grow over time, and we'll put more and more things into here. But this is kind of a way to have, something that's not preferences and going in your documents folder, but something that's a bit more, actual Houdini stuff that's getting shared between multiple versions of Houdini 21. Now, these will live only within certain versions, right? Because they don't have to, because they are outside of it. So they could live between multiple versions even. You could have Houdini, 25 someday, and maybe they could all share between the same folder. So anyways, it's just something kind of nerdy and technical to talk about, but you'll see this pop up and people have asked a lot about it. So I thought that might be a good thing to just kind of mention and say, hey, this is what it is. So that's one thing that's kind of nerdy and goofy that you might not normally see. Another thing is under render. You're going to get, and I'm just going to go over to the stage real quick, and let's just do a Karma node. If I drop this down, you're going to get this nice pop up here, and there's a lot of talk in here and things like that. You can hit OK, and that's great, or OK, never show again, and this pop up will never come up again. But this is really, really cool, and this is mainly for Karma XPU, right? Whenever you have that pre-compiling step within Karma, there's always kind of this startup time that takes hold, right? Yes, it's caching kernels. And so what this is caching, it's not texture stuff. Let's do this. Let's just do something super, or no, you know what? That's right. Here's another cool thing we have. If you type in test in Solaris, we have test scenes now, which is really nice, I think. And I've been using these a lot for Karma, examples. So let's throw down the material look dev. This is a pretty nice one. So here, if we look at this and go to world camera, now we have a nice little scene here. And this is set up really nicely. It's all really well kind of configured and built, super nice. So we can wire that into here. And let's just set the camera properly, just since we're here, right? Oops. Set it right. There we go. Okay. So we've got this camera. If we come over here, throw on Karma XPU, fingers crossed my computer isn't too angry about this. So here we're seeing render kernels, right? These are the kernels that we're talking about. These are what get get pre-compiled now. You also see this compiled render kernel cache out of date. That's just a warning. It's not anything overly concerning. That just is basically saying, hey, you haven't run that cache since whatever last time, since an update to your NVIDIA drivers or some large update to Houdini that changed some of the shaders or the logic that we need to cache again. So this is something, so this render kernels, that compiling is what the pre-compiling takes care of. So you can imagine all of this time. Hey, cool VFX, nice to have you, man. So you can imagine all of this kind of time that I'm sitting here waiting for this to launch. Now, granted, I have multiple things that are using my GPU and CPU and all that kind of stuff. So there's a lot of stuff that it's kind of trying to work through. So once it hits, so it hasn't even started up my GPU yet, right? Once it hits 0 on render kernels needed, then it can jump into optics and start rendering with the GPU. So now so we just went through the pre-compiling stage and now we're rendering, right? So the difference here is that, if we were doing this with that pre-compiling step taken care of, we wouldn't have had all that time to wait. It would have jumped right into this quick kind of mode where we're using the GPU and just kind of flying and going. So that's, I think you can see how nice that'll be, right? So that's basically saying that we don't have to run all those compiling steps before we're using our GPU. So super nice. The other thing that's really nice about this, and I've played around with it a little bit, is that when you run the pre-compiling, right? When you cache these kernels, this is the nightmare of Unreal games. Yeah, a little bit. Like the when you're compiling shaders and stuff in Unreal, it once you open it up, it's all good, and that's kind of the idea. That's sort of the same situation here. When we compile our kernels, they're good for the whole time that you're using the software. However, this caching of those kernels is not just for one load of the software. Takes a while to run on certain computers. Depends on what your hardware specs are, blah blah blah. But it might take an hour and a half maybe to run all, because it's running through every render permutation that kind of Karma can imagine, right? So it's running through all these permutations and doing renders of it and compiling all those kernels that it needs. The really nice, so like you're like, okay, great, it takes an hour and a half. That sounds insane. I don't have that kind of time. Well, you could run it at night first of all, so that's kind of nice. So that takes care of it. And then from there, if anything changes down the line and a couple kernels need to be recompiled, for example, you can run it again and it'll only recompile the ones that it needs. It won't do every single one. So maybe with an NVIDIA driver, it might be more of them that get affected. With something that we do, it might only be a couple kernels that get affected. So, so there's lots of flexibility with this. It goes across projects. It's really just Houdini as a whole. So that is, that's kind of a really nice, like nerdy thing, I think, that's in here that's really technical and kind of specific. It's not an artistic thing, but it's just a little technical thing. If that dialog goes away, you just go up to render, go to pre-compile, and you got it right there. Now I'm going to close this because it's going to start. But another reason to never update NVIDIA drivers. So that is, I think, a really, really helpful thing. And you can imagine how much snappier XPU will feel when you're running with that, kind of enabled. You can also cancel out of it, and it'll, if you have an hour to do it and it takes 2 hours and you're like, oh, I only have an hour, well, I'll run it for a little bit. It's going to compile a bunch of kernels, and it won't have to compile those then when you start up XPU. And then if you have another hour later, you go to lunch, compile some kernels. I mean, you can cancel it at any time, which is really nice. So Okay, so let me just go back here and see a couple questions here. The caches work between project, yes. Terry's asking how much better is Karma now, and you're obviously not biased opinion. I think it's a slow incremental process. I mean, if you're trying to compare Karma to Arnold, I mean, Arnold has been in development for many, many more years than Karma. And it's a great renderer, and same thing with Redshift and same thing with Octane. Like the years of head start that they have is just allows them to have a much more complete feature set. However, I think with each release, Karma has become way, way better every single time. And yeah, I think it's just kind of, it's been increasing from there. So yeah, Cool Effects is questioning Terry. That's great to hear. Curious to see the differences in project. Yeah, for sure. Terry's saying is only complaint from previous projects is sampling. Yes, there you can run into some issues with sampling. I'm actually hopefully going to be. I have a few more courses that I'm going to be doing this year. I think the next one is going to be on like cleaning. Once I get the basic Karma one, the next one will be about like reducing noise and denoising and like working with your images to get better quality. So hope maybe that might help once I'm able to release that a little later this year. Yeah, cool. Okay. So that's a really nerdy kind of high level thing, but I think it's really helpful to know about it and like understand like that this is a super helpful thing. All right. I'm in stage, so I'm not going to be able to go up. So let's go back to object level. Cool. Yes, SCY. Love some tips for managing VRAM in Solaris. I have to say that I had a scene. So in 20.5, I had a scene that I made up that was incredibly contrived. That was basically a pig head that was duplicating. Hey, Chris, welcome. Oh yeah, the metahuman stuff is pretty cool. I haven't had a chance to mess with that at all. But yeah, that is really cool. Nice to have you here, man. Welcome. Good to have you around. So with Solaris, I have noticed that there is a lot less. Like I had a scene I was saying that basically I could force Houdini to just kind of eat up all of my RAM by just switching back and forth between a bunch of duplicated geometry. And it was definitely something going on there. There was something weird. I just tested that out yesterday or maybe a couple days ago. I don't remember. And it was not eating RAM at all. And so I think something has been fixed within Solaris that hopefully will have a lot less video RAM issues. Another thing that has happened in the background with all of this GPU stuff kind of being added to the system is that there is more management happening behind the scenes. There's a lot more GPU memory management behind the scenes now than there ever was, because previously it was just like, oh, this thing might need the GPU from time to time and it can kind of manage it itself. Now there's a bit more of a centralized process to deal with the memory, at least from my understanding. I'm not a developer, but from the conversations I've seen, that seems like there's something happening there. So I think there's a lot of positive things to find there, right? I don't think that chat is going off. I'm like really trying to follow it. Hypoxia. Lots of, I think there's some major fixes that happened in Solaris. So very exciting, super, super fun. Let's get into something else like that's maybe you might not have seen before. We're 21. It's a party. Yeah, exactly. We can drink now. Everybody's drunk. Let's just do this, and let's go in here, and I want to say I know this probably is not even going to do anything if I don't have wires plugged into it, but I'm pretty sure. No, it's not that. Trying trying to think of one of these that has a good multi-parm on it. Hold on. I'm going to think of, oh, is it Muscle ID? No, that's not it. No, NVIDIA does not have a plan with us. I wish they had a plan where they could get some of the VFX industry some GPUs, because that's impossible to do, it seems like. But yeah, no, we don't. We're too tiny of a company to have any deals with NVIDIA. I mean, I think we talked to the people that work there a little bit, but yeah. Sorry, I know there's one of these. This is really cool, and it gives you an idea for how this works. This one? Yes. Okay. Multi-parms. Will Otto be the new Tommy? Hopefully. I mean, hello. Or Rarebert? I don't know how to say that, but oh, hey, Squid Bean, welcome. Nice to have everybody here. So one really cool thing that has happened with multi-parms, and this isn't across the board, but this is, but multi-parms have some like cool new features to them. So what we can do is say things like this, and have, we can name our kind of groups in certain scenarios like this. So we can do like drag and drop with them, and kind of like, mess around with these. And these all now, they basically allow you to kind of work with multi-parms a lot, just a lot more friendly, basically. So you could say that, or like trap it. I don't know. What is it? Let's see. Delt. I don't know, like something like that. And hamstring, right? So if you had a bunch of muscles that you were doing, right, this would make it a lot easier to be able to do this kind of stuff, right? So a lot of really cool stuff like this with multi-parms. Now this one's a very specific one, but you can see how you can now have these property labels for each of these multi-parms and be able to like move them around and control them like that. So I think that's really cool. Actually, no, I'm just going to leave that there just because that's kind of fun. And I think another one we could just throw as like an add stop here, right? This has a multi-parm in it, right? So with this now, we have copy and pasting. You can right click on them. We did remove the delete button right here because there's a lot of complaints that you would delete them by accident when you try to click the plus. So now it's a little bit more of like, hey, right click and you get everything in there. But the cool thing about this is Paul Estevez's favorite node. Yeah, sorry, you just have me tonight. No Paul tonight. But the cool thing about this is, right, we could do something like, I don't know, just crazy point numbers and blah, blah, blah. Well, say I wanted to throw that over to another ad stop that I had over here. Let's just say it's going to be an ad that's got nothing in it. Well, we could just take this. I can copy this instance, come over here, and paste it, right? So this is just a really nice way of being able to do just some nice UI changes. Just trying to make things a little bit more user-friendly, making multi-parms a little bit better, right? So when Houdini releases a new vision, I can't go over all the features and then we get another release. Yep, exactly. That's what so I deal with talking to a lot of instructors at universities and stuff like that during the daytime. We just had a meeting today and they were all saying, how can we ever keep up with all this stuff? It's just crazy. And so, yeah, it is hard. It's hard to always kind of trying to keep up with it. I saw somebody else mention something about the shot builder, and I guess we could try that. I'll be honest, I haven't played around with it a ton, mostly because I'm not building shots these days. But let's try it. Let's see what we can do here. So I'm trying to remember exactly where it is here. Do I pull it up here? No, maybe it's here. Sorry. Solaris shop builder project. Okay, so let's do a new project here. We'll do shots with sublayers. Now, this is sort of the thing that I think is the trickiest part about this is that when you're setting up a project, you kind of need to set it up with some sort of template. And I think that this is the clunkiest part of this workflow. But I think we know that. Obviously, this is a beta, and like trying to build too much UI and UX into this, I think at the very start of it is a little tricky because everybody, this whole thing with Shop Builder is so tricky to deal with because there's so many different ways that people work, right? So anyways, let's just do this. Let's save this. I am going to put this next to my HIP file here, and I'm just going to call this, I don't know. I don't really know what I want to call this, so we'll just call this project. Great. I want to say, I want to say that we need to restart this, I think. I don't think you can just, yeah, I think we need to restart it. So that's okay, no problem. So let's do that real quick here. We'll do that. Luckily, it opens up a little quicker these days, I feel like, so that's kind of nice. Although, if you're having trouble, if your startup time is long and you're on Windows 11 and you're on a new build of Windows 11, that may be that you're running into the Windows Defender like AI assisted stopping things from happening. Oh, cool VFX. No, there aren't any. There aren't any anything like that yet that I know of. Let's see here. Did that work? Why did that not work? Okay, let's just try this. There we go. Okay, it has to be next to your HIP file. My bad. Okay, so we can add a shot in here, and we can start. So this is going to be a unit shot. What we can do is, let's see here, unit sublayers. Yep. So these are going to be the sublayers that are going to exist in each of these shots, right? And so let's just call this, I don't know, let's create a range. Sure, 0 to 100. Sure, that's fine. Doesn't really matter. So there we go. So we have 10 shots, right? And each of these are now going to have lighting, animation, layout, blah, blah, blah. You could obviously set these up to have whatever sublayers you want in them. This is just what we have right now. You can also set it up to have to do sequence-based stuff where you have, thank you. My naming is very, very good. So you could also have stuff where you have like a sequence that it would pull from. So you could also set up a bunch of sequences that would be your kind of base, and then you could tell the shot which sequence it should pull from, and then go from there. So maybe that, you know, there could be so there's a lot of stuff like that you can work from. Yes, and you can set up different units too, so you can have shots and sequences and blah, blah, blah. You could have whatever types of units. This was the tricky part because it's a unit. It's not a shot, but it's a shot builder. It's not a unit builder. So anyways, okay. So we've got that. And what I think that we do now, I think if we do shot, we're going to do shot load here. And we have these shots selected here. And so we could just say shot 1 here, right? And we don't have any of those things. So let's see here. So that's a shot load. And what is it? It's just telling us that probably there's nothing in here. Yep, I just think there's nothing in there, so that's what we're getting. So let's do shot layer edit. We can come in here and we should have those layers. Yep, there we go. And so let's just do layout. Why is this mad at me? I'm not sure why that is doing that. Sorry, hold on a second. Let me just look at this for a minute here. Okay, sorry. This I might have to play around with this a little bit more. Because this one I haven't touched really at all. And so I'm not sure. Sure why that didn't do what I asked it to. So you can do it. Thanks. So the strange thing here, yeah, no layer detected. So I thought what this would do by default, and maybe I did this wrong. Maybe I need to just remove these. Let's see here, shots. Let's jump into F1. Yeah, maybe. Let's take a look. Okay, so that's not mad there. So let's see if we do this. What if we do this layout? Okay, so this might work. RTFM. I don't know what that means. Let's see here. Let's just throw something like a I'll just throw some test geometry in here for fun. Okay, we got Tommy in there. And then we should be able to do this. And then do maybe lighting. And I think if we do, shot split here. Sorry, just trying to think here. Oh, that's what it is. I think. Hello. Yes, that should be right. Okay. So let me see here. If we do this, then we do a squab. And then we do a pig. Just see here. Sorry. Just trying to figure this out here. All right. Just going to hide that for a second. All right. Oh, right. I'm going to have to look into this a little bit more. All right, I'm going to have to look into this a little bit more because I haven't played with this at all. And so it's silly for me to just be kind of futzing around with this here live. But the idea here, and I think there should be some documentation stuff about this. Let me just take a look here because that'll be a lot better than any goofy thing that I can show here. Let me close that. Nope. There we go. Yeah, I'm not sure if there's any like files for this, but anyways, I've literally just watched someone do this, and I'm not 100% sure exactly how it works. So we'll play around with that another time. Any other questions here? Let me see. Somebody know if it's possible to add motion blur and cops on animated 2D shapes. I want to say that there is a blur in there of some type. There is a streak blur, but that's, yeah. I bet you if you put in, if you could put that in, if you put the streak blur in, on your source and then set the directions based on some velocities or whatever, you could probably have streaks that would go in all sorts of different directions, I would think. Not sure, but that's my guess. Okay, so I saw Vulkan slap comp. Yes, that is a thing. So let's check out LOP network here. Let's say... Okay, let's just do something here. Let's do a different scene. Let's grab the Cornell box and just throw this in here. So what we should be able to do now is we can do slap comp, right? And instead of me setting up like a complicated slap comp network, I'm just going to do a filter list. So let's do a new filter list. These are really nice. And we should also be able to now do all sorts of things in here with it. So we should be able to do chromatic aberration if we wanted to. Let's throw that in here. And let's... there we go. There's some distortion. Add a filter. Maybe a vignette. Something like that. And we can do the brightness and the circle radius, something like that, right? So this is a slap comp network, right? And so it's using the same exact mechanism. It's just making its own like filter list here. So you can see that it does exist somewhere. So if we go to N and we go to, I guess it's not in there. So let's go up here and let's go to IMG. We can see that there's a cop filter list here. And so now we have like filters built in here. Now this is a very specific thing that's happening. So don't mess with this, but I was thinking it was actually building what do you call it? A slap comp block. However, in this case, it would be, it's not quite that, but yes, this is more just proving that it works. So sorry, just reading the chat here. Oh, I see what you're saying there, Zach, that you don't have an idea how it connects to the Vulkan viewport in a slap comp setup. Right. What would that be then? So if we do Copernicus network here, I have a feeling that this would be that you would do this and you would get a live render from here. I think this is what you would do. So you do a live render. I think. No, that's for, sorry. I was thinking that was what it was. But that's only Karma CPU. Bum, bum, bum. Sorry, I'm just trying to think about what that would be. I think that this should work. Let's just see here. All right, let's try this. Just gonna delete that and call this color. Is that gonna work? Fractalar, yes. I know about the launching the renderer thing with Karma, but I thought this was acceptable in, I thought it worked in Vulkan. Maybe I'm wrong on that. Maybe it doesn't work in Vulkan, but I could have swore that was a thing. Cause yeah, this is the Karma render. I'll have to look into that. I'm not sure about that one. Sorry, it's a little bit hard for me to follow today. All the chatting here. Sorry, I'm just trying to read the chat. I really thought... Just too famous. Yeah. No, apparently you just put Houdini 21 in your stream name and get a lot of people that don't normally show up. Yeah, Zach, I think I feel like it is possible. I'm just not sure what the mechanism is for that. Because the filter list should just be slap comps. So that is confusing to me personally. I'm not sure why that is the case, right? Because this should be the same thing, right? Like we're able to move this around and it's doing it there, right? Like it's not, yeah. So I'm not sure why that's the case. But yeah. So let's see here. Yeah, you can. Oh, any suggestions, Graham? Because I'm missing the mechanism here for that. Not seeing the. Guessing it's not slap comp import. Yeah, I'm just not sure what the exact like. Yeah, I thought we were going to be able to go over and take a look at the image filter thing, but doesn't seem like that is. If you slapped a Vulcan, yeah, Spock, right? Probably wouldn't. They probably wouldn't do much, actually. All right. Well, this kind of leads us to another thing here. This live render. This is a little bit of a different way of going about things. So let's just show what this exactly looks like. Just throw in a karma node here. Oh, cool. I did something exciting. Hi, Leonard. I crashed it, apparently. Give me a second here while I crash. Hopefully gracefully. Don't know what that was. Interesting. Put a bright or something in your slap block. All right, I'll try that out. Thank you, thank you. Okay. Did we do here? Apparently I didn't save it that recently. That's weird. I turned on autosave, but anyways. Let's do a LOP network again. Let's do the same thing I was doing, was like a let's do slap comp. And what did we have here? Test. All right. So let's do this, and we will do test geometry. Let's grab that Cornell box again. Let's put a karma setup down. That'll throw in our karma render settings. So that's great. Nice. We'll throw in the world camera here. Nice. Let's just try that one more time. Let's see if we can do Copernicus. It's a Cop network. And let's do a slap comp block. And let's just do a blur or something like that in there. And we'll just do a nice big blur. I don't know. And let's go here, like so. we have to do this as color? Yeah, I did that. It's just weird. I don't know why. Yeah. Anyways, all right. So let's take. I'm just going to delete that. Let's take a look at the live render thing because I think it's kind of cool. My flag. Oh, thank you. You're right. My flag. Yes, thank you, sir. I did. I did need to. So if I turn this down. Hello? I mean, it was doing it for a second there. What just happened? I'm not sure what's going on here. Huh. I am not sure why that is like working sometimes and not working other times. Oops. Hmm. I mean, it just blurred a second ago, so I don't know what's going on here. Hmm. All right. Anyways. Sometimes you have to do it in XPU first to trigger it. Okay, that's working. All right. Enough of that. Cool. All right. I want to show the live render thing. So yeah, close that. Thank you. Yes, there is some jank that gets pulled out. Yes, it works somehow, but yeah. Anyways, yeah, it is strange. Yeah. I am curious how much of that stuff will get, filtered out quickly in daily builds and things like that. But yes, live render, yes. Okay, let's do this. Let's just do it right here. Let's do a live render. And this I think is pretty cool because we could do something like Karma CPU. We can say start the render. And now this is actually rendering Karma CPU. You might be like, well, where the heck is that going to go? So what we can do is we could pull up our render gallery. And this is where this is going to live. So let's throw this on and the camera, make sure that's set correctly. Yes, world camera. It should be showing up in here. Sorry. There we go. Why was that pinned? That was weird. Okay, so this is the live render right now. Sorry. So we have a live render going on here. And so this is like a 2D viewer that you can use. So we can obviously move around in our scene now, and that's not going to actually affect that at all, right? So this is a way that you could do something. This is the way that you could do something like, having, just like a 2D display window for yourself here. And I believe if we do something like this, we can do, render regions and things like that. Not sure what the controls are for that exactly. But anyways, there we go. So we have that set up, and then we can also, so we can use it there, but then we can also use this in a COP network, right? And we could use a file node, I believe, and we can grab the live render, and we can find this one here, and now that comes in to COPS. We can actually start and stop it right here as well. So we can do all of our stuff there that we need. We can also get a little cable of all outputs and all that kind of stuff. So this is, I think, a really fun thing to be able to have. Just gives you a lot more clear connection between these, and you don't have to do that crazy, you don't have to do the render. What was it? What was it even called? Was it slap comp import, something like that? So that's a cool one. I think that'll be really useful for some people to be able to get that going. So yeah, you can do all sorts of stuff. Also, there's an internal network here that you can mess with, and it won't. It'll only affect your render. So like, say you wanted to, let's just say we wanted to. Let me pull this up one more time. Sorry. What's that pin that every time? That's kind of weird. Let's grab the. Nope, wrong one. Oh yeah, no, that is it. Let's say you wanted to grab this from your render gallery. Let's start this up again. And say you wanted to do a material override on your whole world. So here's our render. Just going to zoom out on that a little there. And let's just say we wanted to do a material override. We could do a quick surface material would be fine. Just throw that down. Make this, I don't know, make it pink. And then if we did an assign material here, and we throw this onto world. So if we did this quick surface material, throw this onto the world. What? I mean, I can't find the primitive world. What does that mean? Oh, I have it backwards. Sorry. There we go. And there we go. And nothing happens because we need to change the strength and say stronger than descendants. And there we go. Now we have a whole render with everything. So now we can actually override everything in here, but this is just in our live render. This is not, anything that's been saved to disk or whatnot. So yeah, live render, pretty cool. Nice little feature. Nice. Let's see here. Just looking here. If you get time, maybe check out the new Lab Simple Shapes 2.0 with the new viewer states, snapping options. Yes. Christos did a great job with those. A little shout out to him there. Let's do that. Yeah. Let's check out the Lab Simple Shapes. All right. So let's do Lab Simple Shapes. And so this, let's see here. What is our show viewport handles? There we go. So now these all have little handles that are built in them. And so there's snapping and all sorts of different things that happen for you here. You can see that we have snapping there. It'll snap to different spots that are kind of, kind of interesting. This obviously makes them all sort of equivalent triangles. You can see as you change the number of points, you're going to get different interesting snapping radiuses depending on, the number and how these are kind of basically the geometry kind of dictates these snapping behaviors. So we've got all sorts of different stuff in here. Trapezoid shape here, kind of cool. Get some nice little snapping options. You can obviously go past these, but really cool. Nice different shapes and things like that. Yeah, very cool. Right angle triangles, all sorts of things like this. So you can imagine how these would be super useful for doing, all sorts of different shapes that you might need to do quickly, whatever, and you want to get a nice ability to kind of control them here. You've got all sorts of nice little options with like Squid Bean mentioned, lots of snapping features as well. Let's see. Live render is great. FileCop is live render in 2. Yes. Cool. Wonder if we'll ever see dockable panels in Houdini. Oh, that's a good question. I don't know. Maybe someday with a UI rewrite or something, maybe. Who knows? Those are KineFX like handles, right? No. Actually, they're not. I believe these are Python viewer states. And so these are not oh yeah, look at that. Shows you like what the equal at, like you've got 2 boxes or whatever. Apex, no, these are not Apex. This is not built on Apex at all. These are all Python viewer state stuff, as far as I understand. So these are all Python related things, I'm pretty sure. Don't think there's any Apex happening here. I don't think. Let me check. We can look inside here. That's the beauty of this, right? Nope, I don't think so. I don't see anything in here that says Python or says nope. No, I don't see any Apex stuff. So these are just Python handles. Yeah, so yeah, and you can change the snap threshold so it, it'll snap closer or further from those individual handles. So yeah, really cool. Nice addition here. Obviously, we're able to change quite a bit on these and kind of play around with them. It's pretty neat. I think it's really nice, and yeah, there's a lot of cool little features here. So yeah, Lab Simple Shapes, nice little feature set. Somebody says, have I gone over Apex yet? Have I learned Apex yet? That's the question. I haven't really talked about Apex, mainly because I don't know a ton about Apex. But yeah, I don't know, honestly. So maybe we'll play around with that another time. Because I do really want to get into try the auto rigging and things like that. I'm not sure exactly, I don't have characters that I would be rigging or whatnot. So, I would recommend again, if you're interested, check out the content library. There's rigs here for Harry and the pirate. Take a look at them, see what you think. Those should have nice new. Don't forget to like the live. my live stream, you mean? That's funny. Yeah, I mean, you can like it if you want to. I don't really know what that does or how that helps, but sure, go for it. Yes, you can use you can use shapes as handles in Apex. Yeah, there's lots of new controls and things like that we've enabled in Apex. So if you look at, let's see here, is it, I think here, let's take a look at the new Electra. So this is actually Electra V2. And I'm going to hide everything else. Oh, that's right. There's these new hide features. I think the main one that you usually want is this world space, but you can actually change the way that when you dive into an object, if you've translated it in space, you can change the way that that transformation happens when you dive inside of it. So that's what those two things mean. Let's see here. I'm pretty sure. Okay. So let's do a scene animate. Yes. So there now are a bunch of handles and things like that here. So you can see that you can switch between these, right? So you should be able to, sorry. Trying to remember how this functions. Oh, there we go. So when you click it, that's what it does. So you come down here, you've got FK. So now if we control like the shoulder, sorry, I'm not a, oh, this is just for the hand, sorry. It's right here, the arm config is what we want. So if we change this, this will change it to FK now. So now this is an FK rig, right? So we've got control of this like FK. We come up here, click that. Now we have an IK rig, right? So yeah, so there's lots of stuff that's kind of changed with these handles and controls and stuff like that. Let me make this a little bigger. So yeah, lots of different things happening here. I believe you can turn these on and off with some visualizer things here. This is if you want any blend between those two. So you can see here, we just did the IK and the FK. I think we can blend between them, right? So we can do some blending there. We can also configure the stretch, the auto clavicle. So that's kind of keeping that clavicle in the right spot. You can control that, turn on and off hiding and things like that. So lots and lots of cool new ways of doing things in here. We can see that we have some root configuration stuff. Yeah, lots of features here as far as that goes. And these are built in just the standard, electric character, and I'm sure it would be an auto as well. I think auto would be one of those. Yep. There we go. We've got an Apex scene for him. Sorry, not sure what this is. Why this is, there we go. And then we should be able to do a scene animate here. And that should drop all this stuff down. And there you go. It's going to be a very similar rig, obviously. We're, I'm sure, sharing a lot of these components and controls and things like that between the different characters. So that's kind of the whole point, right? Is to be able to like drag and drop things. And that's what the auto like rigger is kind of helping to try to standardize some of that stuff, so that when you're building things, it's going to be built similarly to, how some of these characters are built. So yeah, this stuff is very similar. Probably nothing too shocking there. Again, I'm not an animator nor a rigger. Don't claim to be. So I'm just going to say, I'll call this Apex. Yeah, definitely. It's Fractaler. I think it's not that hard to understand what's happening conceptually. That's weird. I don't know why that just killed the textures. There we go. It's not too hard to understand what's going on a conceptual standpoint, but I think the actual practical usage of it is, I just don't have a lot because like I said, I'm usually not doing that type of thing. Okay, let's try something else that we might want to talk about. Let's do some more cops stuff. Yep, exactly. Pressing the right buttons in the right order is crazy hard. Yes, exactly. Exactly. And yeah, again, I don't have a good example to press those buttons in some order to make something interesting. So just good to know that those things are there, I guess. Let's do some Copernicus sim stuff. So let's play around. I was actually screwing around a little bit with some reaction diffusion before. The viewer states are so confusing when you aren't used to them. Yeah, they are a little bit weird. I do like the way that the Apex viewer states are set up. Again, it's just kind of new muscle memory stuff, and I've never been an animator, so but yeah, I think it's definitely really cool, some of the stuff you can do there. Okay, let's look at reaction diffusion. I think that's pretty cool, so let's do that. It's so funny because like when I first started learning Houdini, this was like a really big thing at the time, like style wise. Understanding why we press the buttons is where the real challenge. Yes, exactly. Let's just grab an SDF shape. Let's just grab something to start with here. So maybe we start with, let's pull up the parameters. Oh yeah, Intagma videos from back in the day for sure. Those are my joint. I loved those things. Okay, so what we should need to do here, I think, is mainly put in this activation, this activation thing. So let's do an SDF to mono. That's going to convert it into the black and white that we want to use. So let's grab this. We could probably make this a little smaller. Another thing is there are now handles in here, so that's kind of exciting. We can move these things around a little bit easier with some handles, so that's nice. Let's throw this into the activation. We should be able to go to the end block here. Hello? Okay. Apparently I've got to do it like that. There we go. So pretty straightforward to get some reaction diffusion going on here. So you can do that. There is also the live simulation option. We can turn that on and just let it keep going. Now we have our live simulation. And let's go to the front viewport here. And there we go. Reaction diffusion. So the interesting thing about this is that now we're in a live setup. And this is still just going. We can turn it off. We can toggle it again there. You can also toggle it down here, I believe. You can see we have this live tick option. So we're kind of in this live simulation mode, right? Can you update the shape / seed? That's a good question. I would guess that we could. Let me see. So I'm guessing. I think here. So this is like the chemical that we're seeing, right? Like the chemical reaction part of it during the live sim. Yeah, so I think what's happening is that we're getting a... I think if we wanted things to update while we were doing it, because like the whole idea here is that this is a seed, right? So it's not really... Yeah, exactly, Squid. Yeah, that's what it was. Is that it's the start of it. It's seeding off this diffusion reaction, and I think if we wanted to mess with that, we'd have to get into this chemical um, process here. And I'm just trying to think of exactly how, like, what exactly it is we're looking at here. How can I? I'm guessing this is just U and V. How would we adjust this though? Because what you could do is you could feed something in here. Whoa. That was interesting. It had a big just had a big glitch there. I'm not sure what that was. Yeah, so I'm just trying to think of exactly what, because this is like, this is where you would get into it, right? Is in this and I don't think this is going to do anything. Let's just see. I don't think that does anything. Yeah, that doesn't seem to be doing anything. So I'm pretty sure we would get into the reaction diffusion thing in here. Let me just see what's on the end here. Um, okay, so I think what we're what you could do, I think, is you could pass through here, and that would come in, and then yes. So if you animated that, let's see. Let's do one there. We'll say, I don't know, 10 here. Oh, interesting. Whoa. That really messed with it in a strange way. Okay. Well, that's not very helpful. Let's see if we do this. Let's take this and then maybe we'll go a little further with that. I don't know. Don't really know what these values do, to be honest. The scale multiplier, yeah, I guess this is the actual, like, yeah, I don't think it's a volume resolution. This might actually be more interesting here. Let's see if we change this here. Just what's this? Oh, wow. Okay, that completely goes away. Okay. So these are the parameters that you'd want to like mess with, I guess. But yes, I think you could mess with these in real time and kind of get something going here. So you could do this and start it back there. So yeah, you can definitely mess with those and animate those and stuff like that. And then you could also maybe go back like maybe like that. Not sure what this would exactly do, but yeah, there you go. So you can like animate those and mess around with those and stuff like that. The other thing that I'm pretty sure, I actually want to pull this up. Oh, here we go. Continuous activation. Boom. There we go. That's what we want. It's on the input there. So if we do this, and then let's just give this a little. Oh, that's right. There's this little thing here too. So let's translate this up here. Keyframe that. And then we'll come down, I don't know, here, and we'll boop, keyframe that. There we go. Now that should work. Oh yeah, that's cool. I like that. Like that a lot. That is fun. Wee. Yeah, that's pretty cool. I like that a lot. So yeah, there we go. Continuous emission. Check it. Okay. So the other thing I wanted to play around with was, let's open up that help again because I just want to double check something here. Distort by slope. Interesting. What would that do? Let's do a noise here. Maybe we'll do the, I don't know, phaser noise. I have no idea. Make this way bigger. All right. Hey, Prominith. That is way above my pay grade. I don't know much about HDK at all. That would be more people that are in the development world that really know anything about that. I'm just a poor, humble instructor. Okay, this is cool. I like that. So it looks like what we're doing here is we're distorting it by a slope direction, which is pretty interesting. And yep, this is cool. Cool stuff. I like it. So let's see here. Let's just maybe scale this down a little bit so it's not so crazy. Nice. Cool, cool, cool. Yeah, so it looks like we're calculating the slope from something like this phaser noise, and then we're able to yeah, and you can do this all live too. That's cool. I could see Kirby riding on that star. And yeah, you could do this with the live reaction diffusion thing too, right? So we could live simulate it, toggle that on, and we could just kind of scrub around here and it should start. Hello? Maybe? Hello? Oh, gotta be there. Yep. That's cool. I like that. I like what's happening here. This is fun. Um, yeah. So Zach's asking for using this for something like vellum rest length would attribute from map work. I think so. I think that would work. Yes. I don't know 100%, but that would be my thought as to how you could get it over there. I think you would use the op syntax and then be able to bring that in to that attribute from map. That would be my thought there. But I'm not 100% sure. So, yes. Okay. So, oh, neat. There's other presets. I didn't even play with those. Okay. Yep. That's fun. Lots of fun. Cool. Very cool. Oh, what about Kenjiro Maganu? Okay, that's crazy. Anyways, probably would want to do less iterations a step with that, I would assume. Wow. Crazy. Anyways, looks like the spots, yeah. Blinking blobs. There's all sorts of fun stuff here. Okay, so what I was originally thinking was what was the original Labyrinth? So what I was originally thinking was to be able to do something like this boundary. So I think let's grab a file node here and let me grab one of my, actually, sorry, here. Personal. Too many folders that are named the same thing, like a dummy. Here. Let's just try this. Okay, let's do that. And we can do a remap. Also, I don't want this to have alpha, just RGB is fine. And we can do RGB to mono. Remap. Cool. I think that's good. Let's put this into the boundary and see what happens here. Okay, yep, let me move my display flag, first of all. That's what I was looking for. Here. I'm not sure why that would not work. I thought boundary would be the one. Just do this. Let's do negate. Well, invert. Does it have to be activated inside the boundary? Maybe. Let's see. Yeah, see, that's not even doing it either. Where are the settings here? Here's the settings. Boundary. Hey, okay. There we go. It just was set to 0, which is weird. Oh, maybe. Wait a second. Maybe it needs to be mono to SDF. Maybe it's an SDF that it wants. That was what I was kind of not sure about. Yep, I bet you that's it. I bet you it wants it to be. Nope, that's not it at all. Never mind. That's fine. We can do 0.5 and should be happy with that. So what is happening there? Oh, right. This distort thing. If I turn that off, that should do it. Okay, cool. And I can turn this off, and we can just do this. Yeah, I know. I need to do some more of those intros. That is cool. That's working. I mean, gosh, that's some low hanging fruit, I guess, but you know, that's pretty cool. Pretty fun. I'll take that out. Oop, hello. Take that out of there so that people can actually load this without, because I don't have that file. But yeah, that is pretty fun. I have to say that is a bunch of fun. Cool. Okay, so reaction diffusion, that's cool. What about let's do the pyro, because I actually haven't messed with that, and I think that'll be fun to mess with. So let's see. Pyro block. Okay. So with this, okay, so with this pyro configure, I think we need to throw some sort of a geometry in here. So let's see what we can do with that. I think. Let me see. I'm not actually sure. That's a confusing one for me. Hmm. Um. I just want to see what this does. It's asking for points. Uh, Not sure. Okay. Seems like something's happening here. The bendy smoke. Yeah, that was cool. All right, so let's do this. Let's just do a pyro pyro source. I have a feeling that you just want these have attributes on them, maybe? We getting anything here? Okay. Well, let's do this. Pyro configure. Let's do a pyro configure here. Nope. That is just a straight up one. So let's do one of the other ones. Pyro configure. Let's do billowy smoke. Curious what on earth I was missing here. All right, we got some kernels compiling here. Okay, what did we do here? We had shape, went to mono. We've got a null just called source here. And what is this activating here? So we've got layered to VDB leaf points. So this is a reference VDB. Where's this coming from? Okay, guess this is just a reference VDB for us to work with. Hi, Leonard. Sorry, the pup. The pup's coming to say hello. I should get a camera for when he comes in right here. Although he's so quick, he's in and out. He has better things to do than hang out with me in here. All right, so let's see what we got going on here. Cool. Okay, so let me change the background here to the dark one. Let's get rid of this. So there's the heart, and it's doing its smoky thing. And let's set this up to, I don't know, 200 maybe instead of 100. Yeah, a little more resolution there. Cool. So what we're dealing with here is a bunch of like kind of microsolvers, more or less. I'm just trying to understand exactly what it is that this is doing, but that's okay. We've got dissipations here. We've got some disturbance. We're working with the pyro source from layer. Okay. So that's bringing in the source and the thickness. I'm not sure what this thickness is, but that's interesting. Perspective view. Ah, I see. It's adding a little bit of depth to it. Interesting. Okay. I haven't personally played with this very much, so all right, so that's giving us the depth that we're kind of looking for here, and that's traveling upwards. Then we've got this ambient lighting happening here. So let's do front viewport. That's weird. Is it? I feel like that's not right. Something seems wrong there. Interesting. That seems wrong. All right, so there's our little simulation, right? So pretty whatever. But then what we would do is we just have this RGBA. We should be able to do something like the lattice to form here, right? And be able to throw this in here. And we should be able to just take this and now tweak this around, right? Can we change these over to... Sorry, I'm just trying to see if there's any other smoother way of doing this, but... Oh, there we go. It's a smooth. The smooth one is what we want. So there you go. You could do something like this, and it would allow you to tweak the handles and kind of do stuff like that with it. And then you could see that this will just go, because really all it is now is a 2D image, right? Because so what we're doing, right, is we're doing this simulation and making this 3D object, right? So if we go over here to the perspective viewport, we can see that this is a 3D object. Like this is three-dimensional. We're dealing with three-dimensional volumes. But if we want to get it back into the COPS world, we have to rasterize the volume. And so in this case, we're setting up sorry, just playing around with things here. Ooh, didn't like that. graphics card's unhappy as we're compiling kernels here. So what it is that we're doing basically is we're taking that volume and trying to figure out the density of it from one direction and basically flattening it down to two-dimensional grid. And that is now what we have. And so if we change this over to light again, you should see, we do have alpha here. Maybe we tell it not to do that. Let's see here. Let me think about this. Can we just do this maybe? Yeah, there we go. I think that's a little easier to understand exactly what's going. Oh, wow. Why does that? No, that's what we want. Okay. So I think this is easier to see, right? Because now we can see that this is just a grid with some texture, on it, right? So these like grids like this, right? Then you're just dealing with two-dimensional data. And so then we can just take this and move it around and tweak it however we want to. And it's just going to flow, there's not a ton of, calculations and stuff that are needing to happen here. So we can kind of just play with this however we might want. So yeah. Yep, I agree. I think this is Fractaler is saying that basically it's great for like background stuff and doing things, that will just keep your scene alive and make it a bit more interesting. Yeah, for sure. This will be super nice for anything like that. And obviously, yeah, and we could stylize it. You could tweak it with all the image, manipulation stuff, and you're just dealing with, images as opposed to having to render out gigantic, pyro simulations just for little smokestacks in the back and things like that. It's much quicker, much easier to kind of deal with. This I have to kind of wrap my head around a little bit here too. Doesn't seem like the most straightforward way of doing it. So I'm going to have to think about that a little bit as well. But yeah, so that's the Pyro solver, just in a kind of quick overview kind of way. I think it'll be really cool. I think it'll be fun. Super interesting that this was added. I heard about this, throughout the development. I was kind of like, Cops Pyro, that's so bizarre. I don't know why that's going to happen. But yeah, I think it's a cool new addition. It kind of took me by surprise, but I think it's neat. So yeah, so we're running kind of to the end of time here. I've gone on for a couple hours. If anybody has any like final questions or thoughts or anything like that they'd like to just chat about real quick before we wrap things up, happy to do so. But yeah, we'll start kind of winding things down here, as it's, I'm sure, late for a lot of people, but certainly getting later for me. So yeah, feel free to throw your questions and thoughts in chat if you have them. Fractaler, you've got a question. I was meaning to hack it, Maitland says. That's awesome. That'd be quite the hack. Yeah, no problem, Terry. Thanks for being here. I appreciate it. Appreciate everybody being here and chatting and stuff like that. Oh, where do I go to make the kernel cook? You're talking about for XPU? I think you're talking about for XPU. If that's what you're talking about, you go up to render and precompile Karma XPU render kernels. That's where you would go. So yeah, that's where you go. You also will get that pop-up when you drop down a Karma node, but you might want to just disable that because you know where to find it. So yeah. Yeah, I recommend if you're looking to play around with oh, you could slice a pyro, I see. Yeah, that makes sense. Bring it into cops anyways. Yep, that makes sense. I think with all the layer rasterization, or with all the volume rasterization stuff, it makes it a lot easier now, but yeah, it's cool. Yeah, the nice thing here is that this is less, I think think this is a more sparse simulation than the regular Pyro. I think that's the idea. Excuse me. Wow. Pardon me. But yeah, so I think this is quite a bit more efficient than that is anyways. But yeah. Well, hopefully that was a fun little journey through some of the things that were talked about in the streams, and some of the things that maybe weren't talked about so much. Yeah, there's lots of new stuff. We'll be getting into a lot of it over time. So, over the next months and next year. And so hopefully, no problem, Tyler. Thanks for joining. Hopefully, everybody maybe found some new little things in here that were not hidden, but just little gems. Especially like the multi-parm stuff, I think is super fun and exciting. The caching and all that kind of stuff. So, and yeah, I'll figure out the shop builder stuff, and we'll figure that out. Yeah, so I think we will just kind of start wrapping things up from there. Yeah, Graham, thanks. Nice having you in another meeting today. So yeah, again, Houdini 21, it's out. If you're interested in joining the Discord server, there is a link at houdinihangout.com that you can get and jump in there and ask questions, and we can chat about more of this stuff. Yeah, I'm excited to see what everybody's going to be getting up to with Copernicus as that continues to kind of grow and change. I think there's going to be I'm sure there'll be some growing pains with these live simulations and with the simulations in Copernicus. I'm sure as we get to some of the daily builds and things like that, those will only get ironed out and smoother and stuff like that. I know people have mentioned that already. It's a tough thing. It's interesting to watch it from the inside and just see how, like, we have to release something and have a point of release. So it's interesting to see how that has to get tested. And, you're always finding new bugs and new little things. I mean, that's just how software is. So yeah, I think it's always cool to see how much this even adjusts in the first couple builds. I think there's going to be those noises that they talked about that are going to get added at some point during this. During Houdini 21, like those grunge maps and stuff, I think are going to get added in. A lot of stuff, because I don't think those are in there right now. I didn't look, actually. Sorry. Yeah, there is no like maps or anything like that. So I think those are going to get added or put in the content library or something like that. So yeah, should be pretty cool. But anyways, let's call it there. That'll be it for tonight. Thank you guys all so much for being here and for chatting. Super fun to talk to everybody as usual. And, really excited to see what you guys are going to come up with all these new nodes. I mean, we didn't even talk about NPM, but that got a huge shout out in the thing. Like, there's so many new things, that are in there, or updates, I should say. So it'll be cool to see what everybody does. The surfacing is awesome. That stuff is great. So yeah, have a good one, everybody. Thanks for joining, and, we'll see you next week. Talk to y'all later. Goodbye.